Hey guys, so today we're talking about Tana Mongeau and Bryce Hall. This has been brewing for months now, probably like 2 or 3 months. I'm finally talking about it because finally we've had both sides speak out to their fullest extent. And I'm here to speak my piece. Subscribe to that bell icon for engagement if you want more of this content. And let me know anything else you guys want me to talk about in any future videos. And let's just get into it. So, I'm doing so much talking today. Bryce and Tana Mongeau have been friends for quite a while. Friends is what I thought they were. They seemed like friends to me. He went on the Cancel podcast, episode 4, which was like early on in their career. They filmed a bunch of content together, YouTube videos, TikToks where they both looked enthusiastic to create content together, just to be clear. Hung out privately, even without filming stuff. The whole Team Bryce on God thing by Tana Mongeau.
Not my piece, but you know, we Team Bryce out here. That's right. Even the paparazzi Team Bryce on God.
He went to support him during his fight, boxing Austin McBroom. The situation happened, I actually first heard about it on the Cancelled podcast by Tana Mongeau because they were talking about it, but I found the original kind of beginnings on my own. So Bryce Hall went on the Zach Sang show, and he said that he used Tana Mongeau as a business transaction to get big, because they asked him if he had ever had sex with anyone or hooked up with anyone who was just purely because they were famous. And he said yes. And they were like, oh, you know, okay. And he said, should I tell you guys who it is? It's Tana Mongeau.
You ever been interested in someone or hooked up with someone because of who they were and you weren't fully attracted to them?
Oh, yeah.
Really? Well.
Should I drop it?
Yeah.
Tana. Back in 2019, Tana. Sorry, I had to say it.
We love Tana here.
I saw that you just did a thing with Tana.
So you slept with Tana just because you had the opportunity to sleep with Tana?
Yeah.
Got it.
That sounds so douchebaggy. Let me rephrase that. We were feeling each other, but I knew who she was, obviously, and I was like an up-and-coming guy. And then I did whatever was humanly possible to put myself in that scenario.
For what motive, though? What were your motives?
I was like, I want to do it to say I can't. I say I did it.
Got it. Yeah. That's not nice.
But she did she did the exact same thing.
Really?
To you?
Because now,
to you?
Now she will say it,
huh?
you know? So we like...
It was like a business transaction.
Yeah, literally,
No, well.
with our genitalia.
And he basically just said that he used her for clout and he used her for hooking up. And Zach then tried to explain to him why doing that is not right.
I want to say something. I've been on the receiving end of a transaction where somebody only wants to like hook up with you or you know, fuck or whatever, solely because they're like interested because they just know you. Not because of any other reason.
I was low-key a fan.
That. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
that's...
So I was like, hey, let me show you how much of a fan I am.
So are you okay with someone doing that to you?
Yeah.
And Bryce just wasn't really quite getting it. Now, this episode on the Zach Sang show is only on 62,000 views, when the podcast with Brooke Cancelled consistently gets like 500,000 views easily. So, I mean, we see how that clout chasing has gone. It's gone absolutely nowhere. And it's no shade to Zach. Zach's content usually gets a lot of views if it's someone that people are interested in. Clearly, Bryce is not someone that people were interested in. Now, recently Tana just had a lot of kind of friend drama. Ashley recently had betrayed her and hooked up with a guy that Tana Mongeau really liked and didn't tell Tana for months, and then bought him on Tana's birthday trip that Tana Mongeau had paid for and hooked up with him on said trip in front of Tana Mongeau. So it's just a little bit like, you know, but Tana's once again friends with Ashley. She just posted like a photo dump with Ashley on Instagram. So there are a lot of people in Tana's life right now that are either, they fall into 2 camps. Yes men, or people that betray her and just use her for clout, content, money. Sometimes those people overlap, sometimes they don't. And I feel like Ashley and Bryce, to me, just fall into the same bag, like the same basket or bin. Whereas I think someone like Brooke is actually really nice for Tana. I actually really like Brooke. I've had some issues with some stuff that she said, but overall I like Brooke. She's fine. Tana then addresses this on the Cancelled podcast, and like I said, they basically just talk about how he like didn't have to say her name. He could have even just stuck to the story of like, yeah, I used someone to hook up with, someone famous, but didn't have to go into all the detail. But he did, which was gross. And this was like a while back.
I have to talk about Bryce Hall.
We absolutely have to talk about Bryce Hall for a sec.
Bryce, I have fought for him so hard.
You put him on the map.
On God, I have fought for him so hard. Here's the thing. Yeah, I mean, first of all, the comments on that video have done my job of all of the moral things I could say about how that makes...
like it is wrong to sleep with somebody just for...
As someone who has also probably slept with someone,
At
just
least
so
lie.
I can say I did it. I would never come on a podcast and say that because I would be afraid of how bad that would make me look.
Yeah.
Like, like you couldn't waterboard that out of me.
And he just freely said it. In fact, Zach didn't even ask him to elaborate, and he goes, I should say it. He goes, I should say it, Tana.
Bryce. And never once has Bryce said this to me. Do you know what I mean? Like, anytime Bryce brings up
Well,
us
I
hooking
sure
up,
hope not. Imagine somebody came to you and said, I actually just fucked you for the clout.
I
would jump off.
I guess if I like was into him or liked him or like anything like that, you know what I mean, at that time or ever, like, you know what I mean, if I had a crush on him, then I probably would be like super heartbroken. But I feel like sometimes you know when people are kind of doing something because
Yeah,
of
and
like
it's just
and I was
mutually
on,
beneficial.
I was on so many mushrooms and like fucked up out of my
Yeah,
mind.
she only fucked you because she was on drugs.
Now, we have the BFFs podcast who kind of talked about this whole situation when Mads Lewis was on. Now, Mads and Tana have a separate issue. Mads thought that Tana and her were friends, but Tana Mongeau doesn't think that they were friends. So now we have this like cycle, right, of like Mads thinks her and Tana were friends, but Tana doesn't think so now. Tana thinks her and Bryce were friends, but Bryce doesn't think so now. Are we gonna get the same thing? But now Bryce claims that Mads is his closest like girlfriend, like female friend. So I wonder if at one point Mads is like, oh, I didn't think me and Bryce were friends. And then it's just gonna keep on going like that. In a cycle, because that's what LA is. It's just a bunch of fake people having fake friendships. Anyway, so they addressed this, and Mads, Lewis, and Dave kind of didn't agree. Dave said that in the past, Tana has called herself like a clout goblin, a clout chaser, and she has had relationships and friendships that she has used for clout. So he doesn't feel bad for her now that Bryce has done the same thing to her. Now, Mads says that she does feel bad for Tana because she wouldn't have been happy if someone had said that about her, mainly because Bryce commented on the way Tana looks and that like she's not someone that he would want to hook up with if it wasn't for the fact that she is famous. So obviously that was not great.
Bryce says he slept with Tana for clout. And Tana says, I slept with Bryce for clout. So everyone's clout farming.
That was kind of fucked up of Bryce to say.
Why? Tana says that all the time.
I know, but it's just kind of. If somebody said they slept with me for clout, I would get really upset.
But I mean, Tana says that. Like she was on BFFs being like, I clout farm and fuck people for clout.
So Mads did feel bad for her. Now, with all of this happening, Tana Mongeau recently went on the Saving Grace podcast, which is a British podcast. Grace essentially just interviews a bunch of people. So she interviewed Tana Mongeau, and they talk about everything. Tana addresses the whole scandal and says that right before Bryce kind of came out to say all of this crap about her, he was tweeting about how he wants her to have another We're Team Bryce on God moment for his new fight. I didn't even know he was having a new fight if it wasn't for this drama. So like, you know, he's having a new fight, and he said that he wanted one of those viral moments again with Tana Mongeau, which he tweeted about.
That thing about Bryce Hall being like, yeah, I fucked Tana.
He tweeted today, was like, he has like a new fight, and he was like tweeting, I want Tana to say Team Bryce on God to like promote it. I need her to have it. I was like, didn't you just say you fucked me for clout on a podcast 3 days ago?
And then shortly after was like, oh, we're not friends. I only hooked up with you because you're famous. Blah, 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 blah. Like, it's just not okay, and it's not right. Anyway, now Grace from the Saving Grace podcast actually says that she has heard in the past that Bryce makes women sign NDAs, and he does really weird stuff.
This man also loves eating ass. He needs to be quiet. I can't believe it. The cheek.
Did you fuck him?
No, I swear to God, but I know someone that did. And also, he's obsessed with NDAs. But they don't work because everyone still talks.
So that happened, right? Now, after this, Bryce unfollows Tana on Instagram. Since then, she has also unfollowed him, but he unfollowed her right after the Saving Grace podcast. Now, Bryce goes on the BFFs podcast again and makes a few claims, right? Says that they were never friends and they were just mutuals. That what she's doing is really annoying because, yes, he said something about her on the Zach Sang show, but what she has said since then, he believes is worse, like calling him essentially irrelevant, you know, that he needs her help to blow up his fight, which he does, and you know, the fact that Grace said that he makes women sign NDAs and he does really weird stuff, and Tana never kind of like fought Grace on that, I guess, which I don't know why she would.
Honestly, it was like, I just don't like, I really don't like Tana. She just, I really don't. I think what she does is fake, but she got pissed at like what I said on that Zach Sang podcast, and it came out wrong, but she says that she fucks people for clout all the time. And I said, like, yeah, I hooked up with Tana for Clout at the time, but then we grew to be friends. And then she goes on her own like podcast and just kind of like shits on me, and then says, because I tweeted something like, I need Tana to say she's Team Bryce on God for this fight. And she went on her podcast or somebody else's podcast or something and said, she said something like, oh, look, Bryce Hall tweeted at me trying to get promo for his fight because no one's going to watch it. Just basically shitting on me. So I was just like, instead of me responding publicly, I just don't even want to associate with this girl. So I'm just going to unfollow her.
Didn't she say something about how that you love eating ass and making people sign NDAs that don't work?
That was her, the person that was on her. Yeah, that was the person on her podcast, or whoever that chick was that said that. What the fuck is she even talking about?
He also says that he was forced to do TikToks with her, and that in most of the TikToks you can see he's not enthusiastic about it, which, I mean, I'm going to throw up a few TikToks for you guys. I disagree. He, a lot of the time, is holding the camera or seems really enthusiastic about it. So he says that he didn't need more fight promo from her and doesn't appreciate being called irrelevant, and that she would sometimes inappropriately touch him, and like she would get really touchy-feely in these TikToks or when she was drinking, which, I mean, a lot of the time he looks like he wants to kiss her and he's doing things to her as well. So I mean, I guess the same could be said the other way around.
I was never, okay, so big shocker, I was never friends with Tana. Like, I have never like called Tana, I've never talked to Tana. Every single time I'm in a vicinity and Tana's in the same vicinity, she'll grab her phone out and she'll film me and like hug me and grab me, and I'm just like, oh my god, this girl needs to stop like touching me. You can see it in like all of our videos. Like, she would always grab me and try to kiss me. It was like, you know that vibe.
Yeah, I know
she is. She is 100% that vibe. Like, she's not friends with like all of these people that she makes it look like she's friends with online. She just films them. Like,
but
we're
that
doing,
also
like,
seems like kind
chilling.
of your vibe too, and I don't mean that negatively here, but like you and Tana like being like smoochy, blah blah blah, like that seems like good for everybody. That's like good. Like, why would? So I could totally see her doing what you're saying, but I won't see you being like, ooh, don't do that to me, Tana.
You can actually pull up like all of our. You can pull up like TikToks, like me and Tana. It's like me just kind of like, what is this TikTok? And she'll just be like, hey, film this TikTok with me, and she'll put it down, and then she'll just press record, and I don't know what we're doing.
That's what like
so
Bree did on the Tart trip with all the most famous people. It's like, hey, let's make quick content. You're the biggest person, and let's go.
That's not.
Yeah, but I also don't. I guess I just don't do that.
I knew I get a reaction.
I just personally don't do that. So like the fact that she's mad at me for saying that on a podcast, I apologize. Like, sorry if it came across as like me being a dickhead. But for her to go on that podcast when she does the exact same thing, if not worse, is extremely hypocritical.
Now, Tana goes on the Jeff FM podcast to address the whole thing, and she does. She gives a rundown of everything that's happened and kind of what she thinks about all of it, how this, made her feel. Now, Bryce calls into Jeff FM and immediately starts backpedaling on the whole, like, yeah, well, these statements are really, I said them more aggressively than I meant to, blah, 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 whatever. But he, in the end, does say that they are just mutuals.
We developed a friendship. I was honestly hurt to see you say that you felt like we were never friends.
I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings.
Thanks, Bryce.
I didn't mean it like so aggressively. I was thinking,
and you're like, Tana never
consider-
calls me. Like, we've talked on the phone. We have conversations where we talk shit about
Tana. We've had like 3 conversations on the phone.
That's so cap. And I feel like you and I have also talked shit about people. You tell me people's secrets. You tell me your secrets. I've told you my secrets. Like,
yeah, you guys know each other's secrets. What did you guys do? Did you guys do something weird sexually? Was there
no, that's all been aired out.
Let's get into.
So I keep like a very small circle. Like a very small circle that I would consider like my friends.
Same, my best friends, but I'm also
friendly
friends with
everybody.
Like, what was your thought process when you came up with Team Bryce on God or whatever you said?
I went to his fight as a friend with Josie, where we were both sober and we were, in my opinion, friends that day in that room before you went to the press conference. We were friends.
Because you guys both have showed support for each other in the past. You showed up to the Dizzy thing. You said that thing, I'm Team Bryce on God, getting everybody's
Bryce,
support.
I sincerely, I think the reason why it hurt my feelings is because you did have a friend in me. Like, if you called me and you needed something, if you did something to support, I just watched your fight. I was like, good on Bryce. Like,
hell yeah, we fucking.
But you've established the line of what you think our interactions are, so I'll take it for what it is.
Tana, I consider you a mutual, and I think you consider me the same way. We were never like tight. We've never talked about our problems. We've never like done anything that real friends do besides like, okay, we saw each other drunk at a few events.
I disagree, but we are mutuals from this point forward.
On the like inappropriateness thing, he tries to say that, you know, she has tried to make moves on him, but then she rebuttals with like, oh, you've made moves on me and you constantly talk about us needing to hook up again and all of this stuff. So clearly it's a two-way street.
Bryce, you vlogged with me. You've made TikToks with me. Like, to act like it was like Tana puts out a phone and like makes me uncomfortable is like what you were saying, and like that every time
the touching at certain points when you're like really drunk and then like I'm not drunk and then you do like
every
your little,
single
like, grab
time
my ass and shit.
Every
like,
single one of the last times I saw you were like, should we fuck again? Like you make jokes that are just the same.
Okay, that's just not true.
It was at the all white fanfics party and I rode there with you and Josh. Okay.
But that's the last time we saw each other and you consider us friends?
Okay, I've seen you since then, Bryce. But still, you've made and done similar things that you're insinuating that I've done, one. And two, like, every time
I'm drunk, I match the same energy.
Okay. So then why are you acting like it's an energy that you're so unfamiliar with? And so beyond that, Bryce, every single time I've ever made a TikTok with you, you and I stood there and watched it back and you laughed or you were like, that's fire, that's fine, post that.
So when you're uncomfortable, you don't like kind of like laugh and be like, yeah, no, that was cool.
No, you've been like, that's a fire TikTok. That's funny. Post that. Do that. Stir this pot.
And he honestly didn't come out of that looking too good because, like I said, he either backpedaled on stuff or immediately he would get shut down and Tana would say, but like we can okay see that you do the same to me. So why would what I do be so inappropriate? Well, if you do it back, it's okay. Now, when they get off the call, Jeff tells Tana that he can tell she has supported Bryce through a bunch of different things and he has tried to tell Bryce that, but Bryce is right now just not really receptive to that. But Jeff acknowledges the fact that Tana has been a really good friend to Bryce despite him not thinking that they are friends.
I don't know. But
I know you supported him. I know that you said that Team Bryce on God shit. It sounds so cringe coming out of my mouth, right?
Yeah, I mean, I just think that's on me. Like, I just care about people. Like, even if we are doing content shit, if I spend a lot of time with someone, I give a fuck about them. You know what I mean?
For sure. Yeah, you started that. That's
made
a nice
lot
thing.
of money off that merch, and that's the only thing that helps me sleep at night.
And Tana, in the end, goes on the BFFs podcast again to address this whole thing once again, put it all to rest, and just express everything she feels about it to Dave. And he does call her out on the, you know, you have said in the past that you also do things for clout and make friendships for clout. And she says, yes, but it's usually a mutually clouty thing. You kind of agree at the beginning that you guys are doing things for clout together. Like she mentions Harry Jowsey, who is actually her friend, but they've both also agreed to make content to get clout on both ends, and it's mutually beneficial, it's mutually, you know, advantageous to do that. And it was beneficial to Bryce at the time, but they did also speak in private, they did also have phone calls in private, hang out in private without any cameras, so clearly it wasn't all for clout.
I feel like the first time we ever talked, you were like, you said you clout farm. I thought you said that.
Farm. I definitely do clout farm. I guess clout farming, every time I've ever explained it on anything, is usually a mutually beneficial relationship that you establish with someone that usually also is intertwined with a friendship, because you can't do something like that with someone if you don't get along to some point. But I don't fuck for clout. And I saw when you were responding to Bryce, you were like, well, Tana fucks for clout too. So like, da-da-da-da.
I thought you said that. I thought I was quoting like you.
No, I mean, I've made a joke like towards what people have said about me, but if I was out here fucking for clout, I would be telling you guys the most famous people I've slept with. The only time I ever address someone with clout that I have hooked up with is if it comes to public knowledge first, or if the other person is making a joke with me on something. I'm not going to come on here and be like, hi, BFFs, here's the most famous person I've ever fucked.
Now, you've seen all the clips. That's everything you need to know that's happened in the last 3 months between Bryce Hall and Tana Mongeau. I genuinely think Bryce has been super disgusting in this whole thing. He's trying to act like he's above it all, like he's above the drama. He doesn't care about the drama, but is actively feeding into this weird narrative that Tana was just someone that he used and threw away. And it's just a gross way to talk about someone who clearly was your friend. I mean, they were clearly friends. I don't know what his definition of friends is, but they were friends. And this is slightly giving me, and I hate to say her name, This is like giving me Trisha Paytas Gabby Hanna vibes. Like, you know, when one person thinks that there's a friendship, one person doesn't. But in this case, I genuinely think Bryce was friends with Tana. And now he's doing this weird, like, he's trying to reinvent himself and completely distance himself from the drama, from the past friendships. Like, you know, he used to be in, like, the Sway house and all of this stuff. Like, he's really trying to reinvent himself and be taken more seriously. But in doing that, he just looks like a bad person. Anyway, subscribe to the bell icon for engagement, and I will see you in my next one. I just stumbled over that. And I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye, guys.